Hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez, and I want to explain something to you tonight that may be a little hard to understand because, you know, it's almost counterintuitive. The bleeding on Wall Street, and man, there was a lot of bloodshed, appears to finally be over. Now, remember how the market went down 3,500 points last week? We were covering it all week long. Well, today, it finally went back up. Didn't make up all 3,500 points, but it did gain more than 1,000 points, and that's a good thing, right? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking that if it was the coronavirus that triggered the panic selling that took place last week, then the fact that the market is going up today must mean that fears of the coronavirus pandemic are finally easing, right? No. Interesting conclusion, but it's wrong. Wrong. The reason the market is going up today does not mean the coronavirus situation has eased or is even under control. In fact, there's plenty of evidence to the contrary. The reason the market is up has more to do with what is basically artificial manipulation. Necessary? Maybe. Still artificial. It's not market driven. So here's what made the market go up. The Fed is going to print more money, send it to the banks to cover their loans, and then, voila! Guess what they're going to do? They're going to lower interest rates by a half point probably this week, and then maybe another half point sometime next month. So why are they doing that? They're doing it for one reason, and one reason only: to rescue the stock market. To rescue the stock market. So, is the coronavirus still spreading? Well, yeah, unfortunately it is. The science says that anyway. South Korea, Iran, Italy, France, Germany, now the United States, all the governments are trying to come up with a way of stopping the virus from spreading. And the way they're doing it is, of course, by trying to figure out who was the first one who had it or who got it and then passed it on to somebody else. But in places like the United States, where there are now 96 cases, 5 fatalities, health officials are discovering that the virus may have been spreading in some of those affected communities for the past 6 weeks without people even knowing that they had it. Most of the people thinking maybe all I have is a common cold. So how many new cases are coming down the pike? Because of what I just said, tough to say. See, that's the problem. Is it all bad news? No. But tonight, the World Health Organization is confirming that the coronavirus is now present in every single continent on Earth except, of course, Antarctica. 2 new countries are reporting cases tonight. The 2 new countries today are Jordan and Senegal. So we're going to drill down on this tonight, both on the virus and on the market. They're kind of interrelated, right? Market rebound, I guess I should say. My job, right, is to try and help you better understand your world. And sometimes, I've got to admit, it's a little complicated. This is the News of Rick Sanchez, where we tackle complicated stuff and where we believe. It's time to do news again. Joining us now, man, one of my favorite guests. His name is John Grace. He's the president of Investors Advantage, the author of the forthcoming Making Finance Make Sense, and he's actually good at making this kind of stuff make sense. Okay, let's start with the basics. Today, the market that was freaking out is no longer freaking out because it is about to be rescued by the Fed. And the Fed is doing it exclusively to fix the market. Is there anything I said there that was wrong?
Not as far as I'm concerned. All I would add is it will be useful if it works to help some political careers, particularly to keep this administration in office. But understand, Rick, that it's an old notorious saying on Wall Street that the market takes the stairs up and the elevator down. So do not think that this is a sign that we've got green shoots all over the place and everything's just looking hunky-dory. That's kind of the mask that everybody wants to wear, whether they need it or not, or the belief we all want to have. There's some cracks in the system, and I think they will play out.
Here's the thing, though. I'm a little bothered by the fact that the Fed is not so much doing it this time. You could make a great case for why the Fed has to step in. Maybe there's time when central banks do need to do these things. Times of war, national disasters, epidemics, pandemics. I get it. But see, here's the problem. There was a time, I think, when the Fed should have been regularizing our economy, and they didn't do that. What they're doing today, they've been doing for the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, right? So that's the problem here, right, John?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And, you know, right now, see, because the thing that nobody's really recognizing, Rick, we've talked about this before, but globally we have more people 65 and older than we do 5 and younger. So I don't care if I'm a great president or you're a great president and we declare that we're going to make the economy grow by 4 or 5%. It'll be easy. Watch me. Not when you have people getting to the place where they don't have to spend anymore. And then you get them to pause and think about all of their spending, which is what this virus seems to be turning out. And that just, it could turn out to be very bad.
I think the virus triggered this thing we're having on Wall Street and these economic potential downturn, but I don't think it was the cause of it. I think there are other deep-rooted, as you stated a little while ago, causes that have actually put us where we are today. And we should probably, John, talk about what the Fed is actually going to do. First of all, they're going to put more money into the banks. We've talked about this before, and they're going to continue to do it. It troubles me because it only makes the deficit and the debt go up. Okay. But then they're going to lower interest rates, 50 basis points, and then another, I guess, 50 basis points after that. Explain to our viewers who are just working stiffs how this will affect them in the long run.
Well, it's supposed to make you keep spending. That's what it's supposed to do. And they've been very effective at that over the last really 5 to 10 years. But at this point, as I say, if you go on pause from spending, you can't get out of your house. You don't want to go anywhere. You don't want to spend any money, whether it's cash or charge, all right?
Right.
It may be more like the Fed bringing, and by the way, I think investors are starting to discover that the central bankers are not omnipotent. So it may look more like bringing a water pistol to a super soaker fight. It's a free-for-all. All right, you got a water pistol, you're going to spit out a little bit of what you got, and you don't have nothing left, and there's really no more tools out of your toolbox that you could pull to make things happen. What a lot of people want to believe, and I think some of our politicians, and I think even the Fed, we want the people to believe that it's as simple as putting a thermostat on the wall. The machines will do all the work. It'll cool the room when it's too hot, it'll warm the room when it's too cool. The machines will do all the work. No, you've got to look at the behavior of ordinary people. That's what's driving every economy in the world. And you just can't manipulate people past that point of being able to play the game. And right now, we've talked about it here, a lot of the people are playing the game primarily with debt, not with cash, and the income levels hasn't kept up with inflation or the cost of living. So we are absolutely on borrowed time.
So if we're all the way at the end now, in other words, we go down 50 basis points, and we go down another 50 basis points, we're going to be basically almost at zero. We're going to be at 0.5. Right? Not even 1, half of a 1, right? That's pretty close to zero, which is pretty close to negative interest rates, which appears to be, what are we going to do if we get hit by something else? Another coronavirus, a war, a national disaster then? I'm worried, John.
Well, you should be, because you have your eyes wide open. And yes, we could go negative, although I guess the first bank that went negative in the world, I think, is out of Italy. And they just reversed that decision about a month ago. So that's not the answer. See, part of the thing that I think is healthy for people to understand is that, you know, there are seasons to every year. And winter is harsh, and winter can kill, but winter can also help strengthen. And let's understand, spring always follows winter. So far, there's been no exceptions.
Yeah.
So maybe the leaders should allow some of these things to occur, and let's work them through,
right,
as opposed to keep putting duct tape on the problem and just making us kick the can down the road, yeah, for it to be a bigger problem down the road.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And you know, it's funny, whether it's the Republicans or the Democrats, but we always hear market solutions is what we need. Let the market drive the economy. And yet they're those same ones, because they're CEOs, applauding like seals while the Fed does just the opposite right now. That's why, guys like you, it's important to have you on. We're out of time, man, but can we do it again?
All right.
You do it again?
Look forward to it. See you next time, Rick.
All right, it's a date. Thanks, my friend.